OG Plum God is the first follow on Instagram.
What an honor.
I went to Service World to see Michael Gerber and Ken Goodrich were there talking about the E-Myth book. And I hear, Dennistheapprentice. And I turn around and it's OG Plum God and Devin. Devin gives me this big hug. So rather than going to the high school and saying the trades are a good place to be, it's like, check out what we're doing at Gene Johnson Plumbing. There's a really cool thing that happens when you've got a young person that wants to learn and a tradesman that wants to teach. When I'm recruiting plumbers, I would ask when I'm interviewing, do you like to do drain work? Just honest, there's no matter honest. I'd rather not. Guess what? We don't do any drain work here. Wow, right? And so it was totally a recruiting tool as well. We just spent 3 hours and had dinner with them, intimately talking about whatever we want to talk about with these two rock stars that people really look up to and have helped tons of people.
It's so cool that you just followed your passion in biking and it came back to plumbing.
Welcome to Behind the Windshield with Dennis the Apprentice, the podcast where we bring you a diverse lineup of guests, apprentices, seasoned professionals, visionary entrepreneurs, business owners, and master craftsmen every week. I'm your host, Dennis. Yes, I am an apprentice because I'm never going to stop learning and trying new things. I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, and I'm a business owner of a Zoom grain franchise in Seattle, Washington. And I'm on a mission to help hardworking young people get a profitable career in the trades without a college education. So this podcast is for people who are visionary entrepreneurs, apprentices in any trade, people who want to start their own business, and even young people without any experience at all. We bring you stories, insights, and experiences that will help you learn from the success and mistakes of guests and even myself. You can find this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's go! Chris, welcome to Behind the Windshield with Dennis the Apprentice.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is a great place.
Awesome. So you're up north of us in Vancouver, BC.
Yeah, Vancouver Island. And I'm a British Columbia.
Awesome. So you came down here to chat.
I saw you on Instagram, and I don't know if it was one of the gurus, I don't know if it was OG Plum God or somebody reshared one of your stories.
Oh, really?
Like, who is this guy? And you're really advocating for the trades. You're advocating for apprentices.
Right.
And the amazing career that you could build.
Right.
And then knowing that the couple businesses that you have.
Right.
I'm like, I got to come meet this guy. You just being, a couple hours across the border from us.
Sure.
It's a great way to write off a trip too.
Awesome. Absolutely. So I got a couple questions for you. Yellow Submarine, how'd that come to be?
Yellow Submarine Plumbing and Router. We rebranded back in 2020.
Okay.
We used to be called Plumber. That worked out for a while, but it didn't tell a story. There's another couple of companies in our area that was called, other things with Plumber, and our colors, blue and white like everybody else. We needed a rebrand.
Right.
So following Tommy Mello, which I think is the GOAT in the home service space.
Absolutely.
Kick Charge. They say, I think my mic stopped. No, there we go. Yeah, you got to tell a story. You got to rebrand.
Right.
So submarines and plumbing, and on the Pacific Ocean, I think that works really well. Mm-hmm. And then Yellow Submarine being a Beatles song and very generational for the demographic that we have in our area. Oh, sure. It really stands out. So with our nice branded vans, we see kids taking pictures, we see people laughing, and people always remember us.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Did you have any cross-reference with the Titanic disaster thing recently?
Only on the day of when they found out that no one was coming back. They're just like, ooh, it's a bad day to be a submarine. I heard that a couple places.
Right.
That was about it, though.
Right. Very cool. So,
yeah, we didn't get any bad press, though.
Good. OG Plum God was my first follow.
He followed you?
Yeah, my very first one. I did Dennis here, but my first video I shot on my truck, and I didn't watch it. I don't watch any of them. I just, before I start getting them edited, I would just make the video on the way to work, and I would hit post. Never looked at it. And then OG Plum God is the first follow on Instagram. And I'm like, who's this guy?
What an honor.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great team right there.
Yeah.
Devin.
They're great. And Devin's great too. And then I was at Service World. I went to Service World to see Michael Gerber and Ken Goodrich were there talking about the E-Myth book. Mm-hmm. Have you read the E-Myth book?
Like 4 to 5, 6 times.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ken's read it like 30 times or something. I'm
right.
Totally ashamed.
Well, you rewrote it.
Yeah, exactly. So I was there to meet Michael Gerber. I met Ken Goodrich, And I'm at the trade show, and I hear Dennistheapprentice, and I turn around, and it's OG Plum God and Devin.
Hey.
Devin gives me this big hug, and I'm like, who's Devin? And, you know, I was like, well, this is what's happening here. And come to find out that people are the same, whether they're on social media or in real life. And we already had a connection. We're already friends, and we literally just met each other.
That's fantastic.
So that was my first kind of introduction to how cool social media really is.
Yeah, and I guess you got the same parallels as you two is you're both advocating for, you know, the technicians, building a greater life. It's really owning your craft.
Right. So, so then that's kind of when I got a little bit busier with it and like, hey, there's a future here. And so now I go to trade shows and stuff. But
this is full time for you now.
This is full time, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So you're down here. You've got how many trucks?
We're 3 trucks.
Three trucks. Yeah. So
growing. We got a couple more in order.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, what questions do you have? I'd love to visit and help out.
Yeah, I don't know how deep you could talk or want to go about this. And you know, one of the reasons I reached out to you is knowing that you had a Zoom Drain franchise in Seattle.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of things similar. Well, it's a kick charge brand.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You got Ellen Rohr.
Yes.
And I think Al Levy.
Yes.
And again, listening to Tommy and all these guys, those people seem like they're the GOAT of the industry.
Yes.
With Ellen building all her franchises.
Yeah.
You know, and her cool story.
Yeah.
And then Al Levy with his manuals and everything he's done, it seems like for A1 in a lot of companies and his own family company.
Right.
So I got to meet this guy. I want to know if Al Levy's processes are worth it. Should I purchase them?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why one of the selling points of Zoom Drain was, well, I can pay Al or Ellen to help me with my company, or if I join them in this franchise, we'll be partners together.
Okay.
And so that's what we did. We bought a franchise. I think we were the 9th or 10th franchise.
So why would you buy that if you already had a successful service plumbing company?
Yeah. Great question. One, it was, we did plenty of drain cleaning, but it wasn't completely thriving. We kind of tried to do it like make departments, like have a department, and it didn't quite work. And they had so many systems and it seemed simple. Plus, the price to get in at the beginning was less than it is now.
Right.
But again, to be friends with Ellen, partners with Ellen and Al, that's part of the reason why we did it. We had a really cool situation. Woody is our manager at Zoom Drain. He'd already been with me like 12 or 13 years and was kind of looking for a management position in our company. And so we said, well, what if we buy this Zoom Drain? Do you want to run it? And so him and his son were our first 2 employees at Zoom Drain. Wow. They were part of the process. They came in. We took them back and met Ellen and Al and Jim Kennedy at the mothership, we call it. And they were a part of that decision. And so we all agreed we wanted to do the job and buy Zoom Drain. So that's what we did. And so Woody and Trent took the first 2 trucks and went to work. And the whole idea, we always knew Woody was going to be the service manager, general manager, and the rest is history.
How easy or hard is it to find technicians who just want to do drain stuff? Because we advertise plumbing and drains, and our technicians will do a bit of both. And I think we sometimes don't have enough applicants, or people are really turned off by a red seal plumber in Canada. It's a red seal when you have your national certification. Yeah. So they don't want to do drains. They don't want to get dirty. And I understand, right? They work really hard.
Right.
So they think it's lower than them, which I don't agree with. Mm-hmm. So do you think it's harder for you? Or
well, that's one of the reasons we started paying attention. Our dispatcher was like, it's like pulling teeth to get a plumber to go on a drain call 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so that's probably one of the hardest calls to give away and one of the most profitable. So we imagine giving the call to someone that actually wants the call. So that is something that we started really thinking about. And then the other thing that happened about that time was I started I'm trying to recruit techs. And I'd find a good young guy that
might already have a family going. He's coming from another career. He's convinced that plumbing is the place for him. But I've got to start him at close to minimum wage and invest 3 or 4 years into him to get him back up to where he is. And he couldn't afford that. Like, he's already got a family going. He's like, I can't start over. And so I kept talking to several techs or people that wanted to get into the trades, but couldn't afford so much downtime to retrain, if that makes sense.
For sure, that makes sense.
Well, with Al Levy's processes and manuals and Zoom Drain's training system, I can have someone that's really interested in a truck in 6 months.
So fast.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're focused on, the plumbers might, if they do 1 drain call a day, they've done 5 drain calls in a week. But if you're doing 3 or 4 a day, right, you've done 20 calls in a week. So you can get a guy up to speed and producing nice revenue for yourself and for himself in a very short period of time.
And these guys are performance paid?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. And so that's another reason. It's like, wait a second, how many phone calls have I lost? I'm talking to a really good guy, but he can't afford 3 or 4 years of retraining. Zoom Drain has the answer for that. If you can give me, so because it's only 6 months, I can afford to pay him a little bit more, and he can afford to take the hit for if it's only 6 months. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So recruit that way, and then with the intense training, and since we're focused on one single thing, drain cleaning, they get up to speed a lot faster and move into a truck, and now they're producing in 6 months.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
For sure. And then maybe 5-10 years later, when they're tired of drains, they know so much about plumbing already.
Yeah.
You can transition into that.
Yeah.
Do you give any hours for
Yes.
their plumbing apprenticeship?
So in the state of Washington, you'd have to have a licensed plumber overseeing that department.
Even in drains?
Yeah. So we have 2 licensed plumbers in our Zoom Drain company. Yeah.
Fascinating.
And everybody's getting their hours.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of the wild, wild west where we're from, where anybody could do drains.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was one reason, so we could recruit better and then to focus on it, because so many people didn't want to do the call in the afternoon. So when we made the switch, there were some techs that did pretty well with drains, and then like that kind of sucked, but we had so much plumbing work, like they didn't mind either. And so we kind of separated the two, and plumbers just plumbed, and our drain cleaners did the drain cleaning. When we got a call for drain cleaning, we would just pass it off to Zoom Drain, and it worked really well.
That's interesting.
And then it became a selling point. When I'm recruiting plumbers, I would ask when I'm interviewing, do you like to do drain work? And they'd be like, well, just honest. There's no way wrong. Honest. I'd rather not. Well, guess what? We don't do any drain work here. Wow, right? And so it was totally a recruiting tool as well.
And a lot of plumbing companies don't know what they're doing with drains, right? So you're not really taking care of your customer. So you say you're spending 6 months with someone learning just drains.
Yes.
Most plumbing companies will throw in that first week plumbing apprentice and go take care of Mrs. Jones.
Yeah, it's just a drain call. You got it.
Just a drain call. That's it. When they don't know anything about heads, cables, jetting.
Exactly.
Flex shafts.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that happens is since we've only taught them drain work, plumbing companies aren't afraid to refer to Zoom Drain if they got a call they can't get to, because we're not going to steal the water heater. We literally don't even know how to do it. All our guys that are running drain calls don't even know how to plumb. They know how to do drain work really well. So then we get referrals from plumbing companies that have a call they don't want to get to or can't get to, or for whatever reason. They're not afraid to hand it to us because they know that we'll just clear the drain and not take the customer.
Well, that's huge.
Yeah.
Do you sell memberships for drain cleaning? I know memberships are pretty big in the space right now.
Yeah, not well. And it's not a focus.
It's harder.
We only have 4 techs at Zoom Drain at the moment, but we don't really sell memberships, but that's an opportunity for sure.
I'm thinking how that would work. I guess it'd be preventative maintenance.
Like every year we call the customer and say, hey, we were out there last year and maybe now's a good time to do it now before it backs up again. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting. People will decline that call. We've not gotten good at that, but they'll wait till it backs up to call us.
That's it. Yeah, Christmas Day.
Yeah, exactly. Happens all the time. So that's kind of how we got into Zoom Drain. A cool story about Ellen and Al. We first signed up and we were We were attending a trade show in Arizona, or some kind of training. Oh, we're attending some kind of a training, and for Gene Johnson Plumbing, but Zoom Drain was there too. So we had this meeting with Al and Ellen, and we came out of the hotel lobby, and there's the bar area, the cocktail hour, and the trade show had let out. And it was like we were the rock stars. People turned around and like, Al, Ellen, what are you guys doing here? And all these hugs, and people were shaking Al's hand saying, you changed my life. I've read all your books and I watch you all the time. And we're just sitting there going, we just spent 3 hours and had dinner with them, intimately talking about whatever we want to talk about.
Didn't even know how good they are.
With these two rock stars that people really look up to and have helped tons of people.
Yeah, they're respected in the space for sure.
Yeah. So that was another reason to get involved with Zoom Drain. And so Ellen's been a huge advocate. She's a fan of Dennistheapprentice. And
good.
In fact, the Zoom Drain is the first people, they had the idea of putting up the podcast at their booth at the Wet Show.
Okay.
And so they actually bought my first microphone.
No way.
Yeah. And they said these 2 microphones, and they set everything up. It says, you bring the influencers and you just come and podcast from our booth. So all I did was I reached out to OG Plum God and Eric Ani and Danny G and George the Plumber, all the guys that I know. And they all said, yes, I'd love to come on the show. And so I had the only podcast at the Wet Show at the Wet booth. And I had all these influencers come, and we did it live. So my first podcast was live at a trade show with influencers that were good at this kind of stuff, right? And so that's how I started, and then I just started doing it on my own.
How many episodes are you at now?
I don't really track that. I'm too disorganized to track the episodes. Like, I'm not really on podcasts. I'm putting stuff up on YouTube and social media. And for me personally, like, I'm into all this, but I always am on YouTube. I do everything on YouTube. I'm more visual. And so I've never really got on the podcast channels. I always fall back into YouTube.
Okay.
So I do there is a podcast, and I do need to start uploading the content. That's why we're recording the audio to my podcast, but I haven't really focused on the podcast yet. But the YouTube channel is getting built up. And
you have a social guy.
Huh?
You have a social media guy.
Yes. So Chad,
okay.
You see all the bike stuff around. I was trying to figure out, how do I get into the high schools? Because you go into the high school as a plumber, and have you ever done that?
No.
Like gone to a career day type thing?
We've done like markets and job fairs.
Okay. Yeah. At the high schools, you don't really get much attention. And so I've been told about, well, you should talk to Flynn over at Raymark Plumbing. He's a ex-pro rugby player. And so I took him out. He's friendly. I took him out to Starbucks and got a coffee, and says, what's going on with the high schools and how do you do that? And he's like, well, check this out. I think he's from Australia or England. I can't remember which, but he's like, the problem in America is that you could be a fantastic athlete in high school, but if you don't have good grades, you're not going to college. So what happens is, if you've got a fantastic athlete, they don't go to college. Now what do? You've got this kinetic kid with nothing to do. No wonder you have crime and gang issues and stuff here in America. That doesn't really happen in where he's from. He says, because everybody's got their thing that they do after work. Everybody's got a sport that they do. And so what he does is he's an ex-pro rugby player. And so he goes to the high schools and he says, you're not making it to college. Why don't you come play rugby for me? It's just like football. It's just a little bit different. You might be good at it. And so he's recruiting great high school kids that didn't make it to college to play rugby for him, and gets them. There's a Seattle pro team. We won the national championship. And so he's got some clout. And so he's got these good athletes, but rugby players don't get paid really well. So they need a job. And so they ask coach, where should I work? And he's like, well, go to your sponsors first. You should work for your sponsors. They support what you love, rugby. So guess what? Raymark Plumbing was a sponsor of the pro rugby team in Seattle. So they had guys, rugby players, come and work in the sewer department, digging ditches and learning how to run drain calls and do sewer work. They have a big underground division. And rugby players tend to be strong, kinetic guys, right? And their only requirement is that a couple days a week they got to get off at 3:00, and they need Sundays off or Saturdays off to play their games. And so, pretty good match to find good help that's interested in helping you with your business because you're sponsoring their sport. And so, then when they retire from rugby or they can't play anymore for whatever reason, where do they go to work? They just keep. Now they're a plumber, right? They've been there 3 or 4 years, and so they had several in their company that came from rugby. Isn't that brilliant?
That was pretty cool.
So from high school to rugby to plumbing. So I'm like, well, I'm not a rugby player. Like, so what can I do? And he's like, well, what do you like? And I go, well, I love cycling. So he's like, well, do you know John Gerard? He's an ex-pro Irish pro racer, and he's starting up a bike team. He's got his own bike, and I'm like, what? And so he put us in touch with John Gerard, and John Gerard was an ex-Irish pro bicycle racer, and similar age. So we swapped stories about back in 1987 and Stephen Roach and all this, Sean Kelly and all this stuff. We knew the same names and stuff because I was a fan of his sport, and he had just got his own bike frame built, and had just started a bicycle racing team, connected with a team that was starting. He provided the bikes, and they were racing, and so he invited me out, and I kept saying no to the rides. They had these race training rides. I knew what I was getting myself into, so I'm in my garage training like mad, trying to get enough shape to even show up. So finally I started showing up, and then they invited me to this race. It was a Criterium in Ballard, right near our shop, and I went down there. And he just pointed, he's like, you need to meet this guy, Chad. So Chad was kind of like the leader of the team. He was one of the 2 guys that started the team. And so Chad and I met at the Ballard Crit, and we just immediately connected. And so then he started really pulling me to the, like, come ride with us. We don't care how slow you are, just come join us. And I could ride with them in the warm up until they took off, and then I'd find my way home. But I'm riding down the road. One of my training rides, I ran into a girl from University of Washington. She had a University of Washington kit on, and so we're talking away. And I say I own a plumbing company, and she's like, well, the thing that businesses don't understand about young people is that we're all on social media. And so everybody's trying to get sponsored on TV, like the NFL or something. But you guys don't understand that us bike racers, we're young, and we're posting all our stuff on social media. And I was already trying to get on social media, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, wow, if I had a bike team and they're all in my kit taking pictures of themselves and posting on social media, I got it. So my next ride with Chad, I'm like, hey, do you know anybody that does social media? That's what I do. I do social media. Oh my goodness. So that's how that all happened. So we invited him to the shop, and he kind of gave us a proposal of, I don't even remember what the initial proposal was, but he would come in once a week, a meeting day, and take pictures of the guys. And he was really into, I want to be authentic. Social media is not glossy like TV. It's authentic, real. And so I invited him in, introduced him to the guys, and he made himself comfortable and got everybody comfortable with him. Showed up every Wednesday, became part of the crew, and started putting out nice pictures and nice videos and stuff. And then eventually they were looking for a sponsor for the team, of course. They just started, and so I gave him some money, and I got my Gene Johnson on the jersey as a title sponsor. And so I ended up sponsoring a bicycle racing team. So that serendipity, he's interested in taking care of us so we can take care of him, right, in the team. So full circle. So he's a part of the company, and he drops by. He'll be here today. He'll drop in, and we'll just chat. We get on the same page. So a lot of the reason that works is because we're on the same page. He knows what I'm after. He knows what I'm looking for. And then he goes and gets it out of the crew.
It's so cool that you just followed your passion in biking, and it came back to plumbing.
Totally.
Came back to what you do.
Yeah, and then Zoom Drain. So Gene Johnson is the title sponsor and Zoom Drain is a sub sponsor. So there's Zoom Drain on the shorts and Gene Johnson on the.
Unreal.
Yeah. And we went and we've done some pro races and now we've got a pro license and it's just grown. So my biggest passion, cycling, is now sponsored by my companies. And the leader of that does all our social media.
Yeah. Well, your business is meant to serve you, right?
Yeah. Isn't that great?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And going back to, recruiting all these athletes, the rugby players,
right,
being a coach. I think athletes, hockey players, those people played team sports their whole life, make fantastic technicians.
Yes.
They're career oriented, they're goal oriented. They just want to crush it. They want to help you out. So I'm a big fan of hiring athletes.
I've coined this new phrase that blue collar is the original professional athlete.
Okay, I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So
trademark it. So
whoever's got their football, but we've got our pipe wrench.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And we're kinetic. If we'll look at ourselves as a professional athlete and treat ourselves, take care of our health better, right? And then treat ourselves as a professional. These young guys are making such good money so fast. It's like a pro. Like these guys get out of college and all of a sudden they sign $1 million contract. They don't know what to do with the money. We don't get $1 million contract in the trades, but the guys are making six figures faster than they can believe it.
For sure.
And that just continues to grow. So I think there's a lot of similarities, but I'm starting to look at the blue collar as a professional athlete, actually.
I like it. Yeah, you're a plumbing company. You're just building your team. You're building your roster. You just want to dominate.
Totally. And I had a kid. I had an apprentice, a young apprentice, and he was normal weight. I never even thought of him as, he was just a normal looking guy, right? And then I hadn't been around a while, and I'm like, hey, have you lost some weight? Yeah, I've lost 30 pounds. I'm like, wow, I didn't know you had 30 pounds to lose. He's like, I feel great. Getting in and out of the truck feels better. My knees quit hurting. And he was just all lit up about losing 30 pounds. And I'm like, again, he didn't have 30 pounds to lose, but it just, even in a young apprentice, losing 30 pounds affected his job. And it's like, think about all the blue collar guys that are a little overweight and whatever, not taking care of our bodies. How much harder we make getting in and out of the truck and working and getting on our knees and stuff. And so that kind of started turning me on to this idea of, man, if we'll take care of our bodies a little bit better, we'll have a better career.
I feel better. I think I saw that story on he works at Zoom or Gene Johnson?
He was at Gene Johnson.
Telling us that he wakes up at 4:30 in the morning now before work to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. Take care of his job and his family.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Role model.
Absolutely. Well, what kind of things are you struggling with?
Struggling with in business is a big thing right now is recruiting.
Okay.
Recruiting. No market is easier. And I just feel like ours is really hard right now. It's a very blue collar town. We're about 100,000 people.
Okay.
A lot of competition. A lot of people are still doing time and material. So when we're talking about doing sales or performance pay, people are really scared about that. Mm-hmm. So that's really what we're lacking of right now. And maybe I got to do a better job as a leader to really sell that and show people how much they can make and how much just taking care of a customer instead of just walking into a home with your blinders on. When you're walking into a home with the blinders on, you're not taking care of Mrs. Jones.
Right.
But when you're evaluating a whole system,
right,
and only running 1 or 2 calls a day instead of 10, it's better for everybody.
It is.
So I got to do a better job at selling that.
How old are your techs?
Anywhere from mid-20s to 40s.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Are they interested in making more money?
Money is not. They more value time off.
Okay.
Money is not
a
huge driver right now.
Yeah. So there's a similar market in Florida.
Okay.
I had a company come up here. His son worked for me and did super well and started hearing about what was going on here. And so he came up to visit his son and like you came to, can I come talk and hang out? And so he came and hung out for the day. And he's like, well, that won't work in my town in Florida. It's all retired. Yeah. And money's tight. And I, in the back of my mind, I'm like, but humans are human, you know? And so lo and behold, my Brandon was my my first service manager, and he did really well. And his wife had some issues, and they had to move. And so they moved away and moved to Florida. And then the son that worked for me moved back home, and it happened to be the same town. So they've started a business together. So they knew each other working here. They both came up in our system, and they started a business in that town where flat rate and what we do doesn't work. And they're killing it. It's going really well.
They're doing well.
Yeah.
No problems recruiting?
I don't know that they're recruiting yet. It's just the two of them.
Okay.
But they're selling well. Are you giving options?
We're giving options. And flat rate, being priced right, to me has changed my life, has changed our business.
Yeah.
Those are the number one things. And if you're still doing time and material, it's 2023. You got to get out of that headspace.
Yeah.
You're not serving anybody doing it that way. We give options, good, better, best. Maybe a fourth option as a Band-Aid, you know, if people are really struggling, but offering financing options, being clean, presentable, you know, having a price book. Those are all things, all these great tools that you have at your disposal that really work. And if there's one thing that I could tell anybody is change your mindset about pricing.
Right.
You're probably not charging enough.
Right. What's your conversion rate?
Conversion rate is about 91%. No, 93%. Okay. 75 on water heaters. We're on our call taking. We're north of 95. So we're doing really well.
Those are great numbers.
We're doing well at conversions. Yeah. Our gross margin is pretty good.
Yeah. Do you need more calls or more texts at the moment?
I mean, we could always do both. We have enough calls for the techs we have. But if we recruit more, but by teaching our system, we don't need many more calls. Like some guys could run just one call a day,
right?
Or half a call a day,
right?
Where when we have a bad seed, then we have to find them 4 or 5. They don't realize how much marketing money that costs, how much resources that is, and the waste.
Right. How's your reputation? How's your reviews?
Oh, we're fantastic. We're 215 at 5-star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're doing really good at follow up.
How many do other companies have?
So number wise are pretty much the same. There's a lot of like 4.6s, 4.3s.
But everybody's in the
we've only been operating since 2019.
Right.
And we only started really getting into reviews, you know, the last year and a half or so.
Right.
So we're doing pretty well.
Right.
We have Paul Sem that does follow ups, being on Service Titan.
So. Do you have the most? Do you have the most in the area as far as number?
There's another company that kind of does things similar to us, and we're pretty much neck and neck.
Okay.
We're close.
Awesome.
We're close. Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, we're rated, and we're being a 5-star, but they just have more. They have like 30 more than us.
Okay. Are you racing them? Are you like tracking that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Every week
Good.
I'm on there. Good. What do we got to do?
We made a contest. A contest that we did in our work is, well, when we decided that reviews were the thing, we were like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere in there in the market. So I got a whiteboard out and I wrote all the companies ahead of us and the number. And then I paid $20 a review, and then whoever got the most in the week got $100, but they had to tell us what they did, like how did they ask for the review.
That's huge.
So people were trying to figure out how to, different things to say, or, but then I gave them $100 so they could get. So if they got 5 reviews, it'd be 5 times 20 is 100 plus another 100, $200.
That's huge.
And then we just focused on it, and then we really celebrated and did something cool whenever we beat the next company. And it took like a year and a half or something like that, and we were
destroyed them.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I guess we got to up our game. We're paying $10.
Yeah,
and then $30 for video testimonials.
Are you getting video testimonials?
We've only got a couple. They're not working hard enough at it.
Yeah.
And then we give our CSR or call taker $10 for every 5-star also. So 2 people win.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. It's the office is just as much as
100%,
it's huge.
Even more.
Yeah.
I'd say.
How they answer the phone and follow up and say we're on the way, and
especially that call taking conversion is so good. So they do a great job.
Very cool.
Again, it's training.
Yeah.
Lots of training.
You sound like you have a lot of good things going on. It's just going to take a little time.
That's it. I'm not blaming the market. I'm not blaming anything like this. It's just I'm also really picky at who we're going to take on. I don't want no butt crack plumbers. That's not us. That's not our core values. We're doing all the right things. We're part of a membership program.
Right.
We're priced right. We're going to get there.
So you're probably struggling with finding younger people that want to get in the trades?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I just, do you have a training room?
We don't have a training room, but I'm quite inspired by yours.
Okay.
And those are the goals now.
Okay. So let me tell you a quick story about that. So the way that works is, we made a commitment to, when you go to a trade show or whatever, or a conference, everyone's complaining about you can't find enough good people. You can't find young people and all this stuff. Well, I saw I've never been able to find it, but somewhere there's a quote that you can't, this next generation, we're doomed. You can't find enough good young people.
Okay.
It's like 1890 or something like that. Some guy's complaining about that. And I realized every generation says this. And so we just decided, we just banned those thoughts from we literally don't ever say those words anymore. So we decided, first of all, to not say we can't find good young people and that young people don't want to work. And we're going to go find the people that do. And what we did is we had a little, like, maybe 10 foot by 40 foot space in the back of our shop. That was just where we kept the water heaters that we didn't sell, or the toilets that we installed. It was the wrong one, and we had to take it out. The stuff you might use someday. It becomes a big mess. I literally saw that with our new view on, we're going to build our own people. And I said, I think I can put a training room in here. And so I just threw it all away. Some people got upset because it was good stuff. Wow. But it had been sitting there a year, 2 years, 3 years, toilet lids, that kind of thing. So we threw it all away. And what I did was, our whole setup was Thursday night hands-on training. So Wednesday morning we did code class. So Wednesday morning before our service meeting from 6:30 to 7:30 is code class, where we go through the code book. We're UPC code. So we do chapter 1 definitions in 1 week. And then we do a water pipe sizing diagram week 2, waste and vent week 3, and then a gas pipe sizing week 4. And then next month, chapter 2 definitions, and then water, waste, gas, chapter 3. We do that religiously. Like, we never miss that training. It's an hour before our service meeting every Wednesday morning. And then we added the hands-on training. And so what I did was I showed them that space, and I says, we're going to build our own training lab right here. We're going to do it. We're going to build it. I bought pizza, and I did buy beer to get started. Everyone was over 21.
Okay.
But I paid for pizza and beer and cranked up some tunes. And my apprentices and plumbers helped me build our training lab as training. So it literally got built. We built it ourselves at 2 or 3 hours on Thursday night. What happens if after you've had some pizza and a couple beers, all of a sudden, and you're having such a good time, it's 10 o'clock, right?
Morale's high,
morale's high, we're having fun, and pretty soon you were there. You said only 2 hours, but all of a sudden it's 4 hours. Some guys says, hey, I got to go, and they bail. But 3 guys stayed, and they're just kicking butt. They're in the rhythm, and we got the tunes going, and we're having a good time. We're building the training lab.
Cool. Now they're competing.
Yeah, we built this training lab, and then other people started to hear about it and started to come and check it out. And so what that did was it created some buzz, but it also gave me a story to tell. So I'm not just talking. Now I've got pictures. And so then when I go to the high school, I have a story to tell. Mm-hmm. So rather than going to the high school and saying the trades are a good place to be, it's like, check out what we're doing at Gene Johnson Plumbing.
Come see.
Yeah, and there's 2 or 3 plumbers. There's 2 or 3 young kids in there, young apprentices that I was fortunate to have, and then I got other guys that I wanted to train. And what happened was, there's a really cool thing that happens when you've got a young person that wants to learn and a tradesman that wants to teach. And the truth is, something we don't talk about is that all tradespeople want to leave a legacy, right? We've learned this career. We're proud to be a plumber or whatever we are, electrician, HVAC guy. And there's this thing that we don't really put words to, but there's this longing or desire to pass it on to somebody that we don't really talk about. But I say a good young person can turn a whole company around. When you find a good young person that actually wants to learn and will soak it up and is interested, it will turn everybody on. And so I got that in my business, and then I just go to the high schools and tell that story.
My plumbing teacher in trade school said, when you're plumbing something, make it beautiful, take pride. You don't want to show your kid. You want to show your grandchild.
Right.
And then you want them to be so proud of you.
Right.
So that's that legacy you're talking about.
Exactly.
How would you tell, kind of a company that doesn't really have the space, they're starting out, they got a small shop, how would they build a training center? Because it sounds like it's worked out for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but looking back, you showed me pictures of your smaller shop back in the day. How would you find that vision? Where would you make that space?
Before we had the training lab, we just used the shop.
Just use the shop.
So in our shop, there was 1, 2, 3 toilets.
Okay.
There were 3 sinks. There was a little kitchen sink. There was an ice maker.
These are already working.
They're in the building. There was a bathroom for the office, and there was a little bathroom out. Just pokey little things, right? But we just started training in our shop that we had for guys that have a home-based business. I would say use your house.
Yeah.
Invite everybody. Have a barbecue on Thursday night. We switched from beer to drinks. Not beer anymore, but popping pizza or barbecue at the house, and have your employees over, and crank the tunes and go to work and start. Like, hey, we got to replace this toilet. What I did with the toilets was, we'd sell a toilet and bring the old one back, right? Mm-hmm. And then we bash it up and throw it in the dumpster. Yeah. Well, before you do that, install it. Have the apprentices install it and rebuild the insides. Cool. Right? Yeah. And then that's a training class. And then when we get a couple more toilets, take that one now bashed up and throw it away, and take the old one we just replaced and put it in. Does that make sense?
For sure.
So we started this, because I kept seeing that too. I'm seeing we're throwing away this old stuff that we could fix. And so I'd say, don't throw it away. And then I had three flanges for toilets. So I'd wait till I had 3 toilets. Then we'd say, let's have a toilet class. And this Thursday we're doing toilets. And so everybody would show up. I'd say, let's install these 3 these 3 toilets, throw away. Mm-hmm. These 3 toilets install, and then rebuild.
Cool. And then they get to take away some anger and smash those toilets afterwards.
Totally.
I think we should start charging for that. Have you seen those rooms where you can go rent like a cubicle or like a warehouse space?
No.
And you can smash TVs and computer monitors and stuff like that. But like nothing feels better than smashing a toilet lid to a toilet tank.
As long as you got your
safety got to be safety first.
Totally.
But I think we could charge for that.
You probably could.
We should do that.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea, Chris. So even if you got a home-based business where you're out of your house, you can still do it at your own house. And you might have a nice toilet, and take your nice toilet out and put a used one in there and rebuild it for a week. And next week, take that one out and put your nice one back. Like, there is a little bit of a commotion, but that's how you can get started.
Yeah,
if that makes
creative.
Sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it creates this culture thing, and then that's what gets what gets things going.
Right. Our supplier have lent us their training room too.
Oh, cool.
So that's a good way. If you have good terms with your suppliers, you can reach out to them.
Right. You have like showrooms and stuff up there?
Showrooms and just even a boardroom if you want to do some co-training.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, we've got a couple, they call it green rooms down here. Pacific Plumbing has. Okay. They call it a green room. They'll have tanklesses and stuff similar to what we have.
Yeah. Probably not as nice.
Yeah, no. Actually, ours is nicer. Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, it's really fascinating what you've built.
Cool. Yeah, and it's taken 23 years. Yeah. That's the thing. If it was 5 years ago, you wouldn't look like this. No. So
we're coming at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, as far as funding young people, I spoke at 3 high schools this spring, and I recruited 3 people.
So it's working out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got
just told my story, showed some pictures, and that's really all we need. 3 green guys. I mean,
a couple of years if they could turn you $1 million.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right.
So your ROI is so worth it.
Totally. Mm-hmm. So you only need 1 or 2. Yeah. And you need the right ones if they're turned on and interested. I talk about how it's kinetic. I talk how we see ourselves as a professional athlete. Yeah. This isn't like what you see on TV about plumbing or electrical or whatever. You're going to be a high-paying, well-paid professional athlete.
Another challenge we have is recruiting for service plumbing. And you seem like you've come up with a creative way to break that performance pay down and make it work in your state.
Mm-hmm.
Where in British Columbia, Canada, it's really hard to pay performance. It's got to be salary or hourly. So we get a lot of guys who don't want to do service, who just want to do construction and want to stay clean and know what time they're done every day.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you tell someone that, that's their objection?
Mm-hmm. I think there's, we've gone back and forth on that, and there's no, so we were strictly service, and I'll tell you, I had a really wake-up call one time where I thought I interviewed a guy. I thought he was coming on board. He's everything. He was a perfect match.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the most perfect match I lost. And I called him, like, why, how did I miss you? How did I miss you? He's like, I just don't want to do service.
Right.
I just want to do hourly. And so I started waking up to the idea there's a lot of guys like that I don't want to do service. I just want to work. Let someone else sell. So there are companies that have, now also we had 22 plumbers, and probably the top third sell as much as the bottom 2/3 together, or even maybe it might be even worse than that.
Yeah.
Because they really like it and they're really into it. And so there are companies that let those guys do the selling and let the guys that don't really want to sell much do the install. And so we are moving to a setup where the guys that are really good at sales get to do more of the sales, and the guys that just like to plumb get to do the work they sold.
Right.
So that's kind of hard when you're smaller.
It's hard. And it's hard to separate that performance pay and the commissions, right?
Yeah.
Between the technician and the selling tech.
Yeah. I think what we're doing is we're dividing up. The sales guy gets a certain percentage, and the installer gets the other percentage of the total percentage paid out.
One thing we struggle with is accountability on callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make technicians accountable on their callbacks? So we kind of deduct from their spiff,
mm-hmm.
but it's still not enough. Not saying that's not enough, but there's just got to be how to get it ingrained in their head that this is unacceptable. Is it debriefing? Is it more pictures? We're all on Service Titan. So is it before and after pictures? Is it calling your service manager at the end of the call? You don't want to do that on every call. That's not beneficial or economical.
Yeah. I don't know if it's legal or not, but the culture down here is you don't get paid for your callback.
You don't.
Is that true up there too?
I know there's a company that doesn't, but it's not legal.
It's not legal.
It's not legal.
But a lot of guys will, if you're strictly commission, a lot of guys will go back on their own job just to make things right, to keep their commission.
Okay.
So that's
So
kind
they
of
lose commission. Yeah, they lose their spiff, but they're still getting their hourly. So they don't really lose anything. They're just losing a bonus.
Yeah.
They're not losing their hourly, which there's got to be a different way.
Yeah, like our guys are getting paid commission, and so then if they got to go back 3 days later to fix something, we just send them back, and they go back, and we're not taking anything away from them, but just like we want to handle callbacks. One thing that we always, it's really easy to put off a callback, right? Because you got a leaky water heater you want to go to.
Yeah.
But man, just deal with that right away. It clears your head. It makes you feel good about yourself, actually, because you had enough pride to go fix it and make it right. Your customer's happy with you. Yeah. Wow, thank you for coming right back out. I wasn't expecting this, right? Yeah. They're usually, most of the time, they're struggling to get someone to come back out to warranty their work. So we always jump on that and warranty our work right away.
Sometimes it's an opportunity, too, if you send a different technician.
Oh, yeah.
They see something different.
Yeah. And we've gone both ways. Sometimes we send the same tech back because we want him to see what he did wrong.
Yeah.
But that also, sometimes you don't realize the wrong that they're doing all the time.
True.
By doing that. But one thing is just the number, just tracking it. Like if you had in your meeting and John had 5 callbacks and Joe had 3 and Dan had 0. And
put that as a trackable KPI.
Absolutely, because you can track it in Service Titan.
Yeah.
Right? And then have a little spiff for if you're at 0 for the week or something like that.
Okay.
And the guys will start to pay attention to that and start to take pride in it and they'll start ribbing them each other like 5 callbacks. What are you up to? Like.
Do you have goal boards anywhere for the techs to see?
We have in our lunchroom, like up here at this shop, a lot of guys are just going right to their first call.
Right.
But we've generally had, what's the new dashboard put on by?
Like the technician's performance?
Yeah, there's a new company that put out a dashboard.
Oh, it's not Service Titan.
It's based off of Service Titan.
Okay, I don't know it.
But, who's the guy in California that sold for like $50 million?
Not Buckley. No.
No, he was at Service Titan. He's really Ishmael.
Okay.
Ishmael has a company that takes the data out of Service Titan and puts it on a dashboard.
Okay. I didn't hear about it. You subscribe to it?
Datacube. Datacube is the company. They take the data out of Service Titan and put it up on a dashboard. So you've got the guy's picture and his performance, and they have first, second, third, fourth, and it rotates. So you can see our service department, our phone call takers, and it just rotates.
Wow.
So we have that live all the time. So the guys come in and look at that and see where they're at.
That's neat. I like that.
So it's called Datacube.
All the softwares.
All the softwares.
Too many softwares.
Yeah. When I first started, I did a thing like football. My whole thing was football. So like at the end of first quarter, what do? We stop and look at we don't look at the score the whole time we're playing, right? But every quarter there's a special break and we all, okay, where are we at? And we look at the score and then recommit to what we're going to do. We got to tighten up the defense or whatever it is, and then play again, right? And so that's what I did. There's usually 4 weeks in a month, basically. And so I would just say this success is when we're billable hours. If I wanted 4 billed hours in a day, I'd say 20 billed hours in a week, right?
Yeah.
So 20 billed hours is success. And so you got 16. So you're 4 points down. Week 1, quarter 1, and then quarter 2, what happens? And maybe you scored 24 points versus 20. So now we're tied at 40 and 40. So we're tied. Right. And so I had that for every tech.
Okay.
That's how I started measuring performance.
That's cool.
And so you can do it with revenue too. If your goal is 40,000, then 10,000 a week, and you can just measure it and then and say, well, so very quickly you can see you're ahead or behind success, right?
Real fast, yeah.
Really fast, and that stays up all week long. And then I had the guys come up and write their own numbers in there.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So I played it like football, literally scored like football. Every truck had their own on a whiteboard.
Right, and you're a football town, so most of your technicians are probably on board with that.
Totally,
yeah,
totally,
that's cool.
Exactly. So that was really simple, and that was super effective. And if sales are good, then everything else is fairly good, right? Sales covers a lot of problems. So that's probably your first thing to look at. So with Service Titan, you can get into a lot of data to look at and get confused. And a tech can get confused about what he's supposed to be working on too. Mm-hmm. So really, we found that it's best to have a tech working on one thing. So now we've got the techs all working on something different. So I used to do it where we're all working on conversion rate.
Okay.
And now we're all working on average invoice, right? And our sales meetings are all about that. But the truth is, some guys got a great conversion rate, and some guys, everybody's different. So now, when our guys report their numbers, some guys are working on the average invoice. Some guys are working on their conversion rate. Some guys are working on their call count. And so everybody's got a different number they're working for. So that's
they're struggling
fairly
a little
new.
bit.
Yeah.
You're going to coach them in that area.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's fairly new, probably in the last 6 months.
That's tracking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Numbers gone up?
I don't actually know the results of that.
Right. Okay.
So far. And then also, things are a little bit tighter right now than they were. So it's kind of hard to compare to last year. The market was a little bit hotter last year than it is this year.
True.
So,
and you've had some changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Running a little leaner, I'm sure.
No, not necessarily.
Not
no.
really? Okay.
Mm-mm. Not yet.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
What else? Yeah. Yeah, my main struggles were, recruiting.
Facebook ads.
That's something I really got to get into.
Facebook ads.
For recruiting.
Yes.
And for marketing too, right? I heard. Or do you do well with those?
So we put out We put out, Chad makes a video and he'll put, $10 or $15 or $20 a week behind it
Just
on Facebook and Instagram about our business.
Yeah.
It's not really a sales piece. It's just like featuring a tech or featuring what we're doing or what's cool. It's just a nice,
and that's tracking
branding type video. And it's hard to track if that's what the result is, right? It's like branding. But we'll also make recruiting ones. We'll make, he'll come in, he'll be here today and we'll be talking about what kind of videos we want to make the next couple of months here. And if I say, hey, we want to make a recruiting video, and what's the most recent cool story? Well, this young kid's doing really well. Let's go talk to him, where he came from, why he likes it here. Mm-hmm. We'll get some good quotes. We'll put it to music and show him getting in and out of his truck and shaking hands with the customer. And we'll make a recruiting video and put it on Facebook.
One of my prerequisites when I'm talking to apprentices is to get them to follow you. Mm-hmm. And just because it shows them, you had a segment of keeping your truck clean. I think his name was Miguel.
Yeah.
Maybe. It is unbelievable. I'm like, guys, this is the staple. This is baseline.
Yeah.
Morale, how to dress.
Yeah.
Clean shaven.
Yeah. So you're seeing that up on Vancouver Island.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And so that's people are seeing that in Seattle.
Yeah.
And so we're not really recruiting, but people are talking about that. And if they get unhappy with where they're at, they drop in here and say, hey, I keep seeing you around. Is it really true?
Their employer's not investing in them.
Yeah. So we're not ever really pushing hard for marketing for, we have no signing bonuses and stuff. We're not advertising that way.
You don't have to.
No, I got people coming, looking into us all the time.
Did Dennis the Apprentice start before you did that Wet Show podcast?
Yeah.
Were you doing social before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out social, Gary Vaynerchuk is like content, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what can I actually do and stick to? And so, I have like a 7-minute drive to work. And so I can shoot a video on the way to work in my truck. That's something I know I can do. And also the reason it was in the truck was I was trying to do social media and at the shop, but I showed you our shop. It was so tiny. We had so many people in there. Every time I tried to make a video, I'd get interrupted. The door would slam. There's just nowhere I could do it. And the only place I could be private and quiet was my truck. So I literally just set up my phone. And I also wanted to be on phone based. I cameras and lights and all this is just too much. It won't ever get done. And so camera, dashboard in my truck, private, quiet.
Authentic,
1-minute video, send, post. Don't look at it. Don't edit it, nothing. So I did that for years. Yeah.
And you get more and more comfortable?
Yeah, it's Chris, it's amazing what happened. Pretty soon I looked down and in 1 minute, I'm finishing up at 1 minute, without even trying. That's the weird thing.
Some muscle.
And then, I kept doing that. And then I started, you know how you're camera shy? You were nervous when we started.
Yeah.
I saw you nervous. Yeah. You're less nervous now.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah. Well, I was nervous too, and I get the camera, and when people put the camera on you, and Chad was the same way. He brings his camera, and all of a sudden you start acting different. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, it's just me. Relax. And that's why he would come to our meetings. It's just me, Chad, and people had to get used to that, and that's why you see such cool videos. Is because, we've had other agencies come in and try to make videos for our company, and people, even me, it's what do you want me to say, and so Chad is just. He's us. He's Chad's here. He's part of the team. And what do you want me to say? And I'll say it, So doing those 1-minute videos somehow broke down that barrier with the camera and talking. And so when I podcasted that very first time, I'd never done this before. And everyone was saying, wow, how long have you been podcasting? I go, this is my first time ever. First time live. And somehow that 1-minute video every morning broke all that. And then when I went to speak at the high schools, no heartbeat, no nervousness. Sweats. No, it was just, it broke all that down. And so then I did a podcast. I was a guest on a podcast on the internet and totally calm. And it was so weird. That 1-minute video a day broke all that camera shyness.
That's unreal. Yeah. Even At first, when the pandemic started and we have like a lot of masterminds on Zoom or coaching calls on Zoom, you were nervous, and now it's just part of life.
Yeah.
And I think being in business is great, and you meet a lot of people, and it builds those muscles.
Right.
So public speaking, you start getting comfortable with.
Yeah.
Having conversations like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the Dentistry Apprentice thing, I don't even know how I was just trying to figure out some catchy thing, and somehow Dentistry Apprentice, and that was kind of goofy. I'm okay with being a little goofy. Like, I think plumbers are too serious.
Yeah, big egos.
Right, big egos and too tough. And it's like, can we just be real for a minute? And so I kind of like that, and Dentistry Menace, Dentistry Apprentice, and then that was something I could do. And I realized, my first apprenticeship as a mortician, I was really into that, right? And so I did a really good job at it, and really cool things happened to me because I took my apprenticeship really seriously. And I've had apprentices come through our organization who, within 1 or 2 years did very well themselves because they took it seriously. And so then you have other guys who just come at work because their mom made them come get a job, Right. And so we don't have any of that here anymore. If I find that out, we flush that out. We don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. But everybody's struggling with young people. And the thing is, the young people, when you go to college, there's a syllabus. They tell you, take this class, go to this classroom and take this class, right? Go to this classroom and take this class. And this week is quarterfinals, and this week is finals. If you go to work in the trades, it's like, just go to work. There's no syllabus. Mm-hmm. And so what I aspire to do as Dentistry Apprentice is kind of give a syllabus, like do this, do this, do this. The whole idea is to get off the minimum wage as fast as possible. And if you'll follow along and do the things, it won't be long before you're everybody's favorite, and then you get pulled into the bigger games. I did a video just a few months ago. What you don't understand is that early in the morning, the best guys are at work telling the manager they need the best apprentice because they got a special job. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And so what the apprentices don't know, they come rolling in here at 8 o'clock because it's 8 o'clock, it's time to go to work.
Yeah.
The best guys were here at 7 o'clock making sure that they had their stuff in order, and they want the best apprentice. And you want to make sure you're the best apprentice. Because if you're the best apprentice, then the best techs invite you to the job they really need you on. And it just propels you. It's exponential.
Yeah, probably faster too. We're all looking for recognition.
Yes.
We all do, especially as an apprentice.
Yes.
We want to be told that we're doing a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's all that stuff that no one really talks about. And
it's a different, and to have that platform, I just love how you're utilizing it, because there's nobody, because most of the time it is just egos and just bashing each other on codes. And even though one guy's in India and one guy's in Seattle or Washington and one guy's in California, where it's all different, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What, how to do, there's too much tech talk.
Yeah.
But there's not enough training talk.
Soft skills.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Soft skills. And I like the curriculum you have about code. You probably do teach soft skills also, mm-hmm. and technical training.
Yeah.
You got to do those three things, you're going to win.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And what's ironic is half my apprentices don't listen to me. They don't. Half my company doesn't follow Dentistry Apprentice.
No.
Wow. And it's good and bad because it's good and bad because all my stories, if you listen to the video, you know what's going on in my company. True. They're all inspired by real life events. Mm-hmm. So, I was just talking about uniforms and talking about past companies recently. Well, that all happened in our big quarterly meeting. This guy's coming in an untucked T-shirt, and it's like I've got some guys looking sharp as a tack, and other guys looking like they just rolled out of bed, and it's like, really, on the quarterly meeting?
How do you have that conversation with people like just rolled out of bed when you're a small shop and you can't afford to lose anyone?
Yeah.
How do you have those hard conversations?
I didn't.
You didn't? No, it's hard.
I'm probably an outlier on this, but I've always wanted my plumbers to feel comfortable more than, it kind of comes to reaction when Flat Rate first got going in Seattle, everybody's in white shirts. Mm-hmm. So you got a plumber showing up in a white, perfect white shirt, and it's like, what? This guy's ready to sell me something.
True.
Right?
True. Tablet, white shirt.
Yeah. And so I'm like, why don't we just look like plumbers, mm-hmm. but be really sharp?
Right.
And so our uniform was a black boot, any black pant you want, it used to be that there weren't much variation. Now there's so many cool black pants out there. I don't want to be the jerk that won't let you wear your nice black pant. I'm not going to fight. Well, I'm not going to fight over what brand of black pant you wear. It's got to be black. I don't care. We have a budget for it. Go get yourself some black pants and then a company shirt. And we've got a dress uniform shirt, and then we've got a T-shirt. It's hot outside. Take your nice blue shirt off and work in a T-shirt. After the job sold, I could care less, right? I would want my guy to be comfortable. So we were pretty lenient on the uniforms, to be honest. But that's probably my biggest weakness. So I got a crew of guys here that look maybe not as sharp as possible, even though they're all really sharp. They're really glad to be here. They're invested in being here. They care about their numbers.
Yeah, they're 90%.
Yeah, they're rocking.
You can go,
Yeah, but then usually what you're seeing is they're not showing off either. Like they're not putting on their thing we're all comfortable. So that's probably my biggest weakness. Like I have a friend that had a company, and every picture you see, his guys are perfect. Everything's perfect, and that makes me jealous a little bit. But my retention rate is way better.
There you go. Who's
and it's
authentic?
like, what do you want? And so I'd rather have guys.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
White shirts. Yeah.
I want guys that want to be here and like to be here and enjoy working together, and we have a good relationship, and I don't have much turnover. Rather than a perfect uniform.
That's a better KPI.
Yeah. So as far as balance, we're really profitable. My guys look a little bit rougher, but everybody loves it here.
Yeah. Speaking of KPIs, do you know how many apprentices you've gotten since you started Dennis the Apprentice?
How many what?
How many apprentices you've indentured at your company since you've started Dennis the Apprentice?
Thank you for asking that question. I do not know, but I'm speaking at Pantheon, Service Titan Pantheon.
Oh, are you?
I'm speaking there.
Wow.
I have a breakout session, and that's one of my new I'm going to introduce the concept. We're always asking how many trucks do you have or how many techs do you have. I said maybe a question is how many licensed techs have you put on the road? And isn't that a better question?
Great question.
Like that has to do with culture, retention, everything else. So I'm working on figuring out what that number is. So, and I'm trying to figure out how we want to measure that. It's like, because I've had guys come here with some experience, and then we top them out and they get their license. I've also had guys come here, get quite a ways down the road, and then go somewhere else, move or whatever, and get their license. And then I've only had, I don't have the number, but I've had another number of people that have started and gone through the entire license. So I'm not sure what number do you think we should track as an industry?
The industry.
Like for instance, I've got 2 guys that have their hours, but they haven't passed their tests. They just haven't done it.
Done the test.
But they've got their hours, and then that's part of the trick is to get them to do that.
Write that ticket.
Yeah, and so, but that is a number I'm going to introduce at Pantheon is to challenge everybody to quit asking how many trucks you have and ask the question, how many apprentices have you trained to tech?
Yeah. How many people have you turned on in the industry?
Yeah.
In the trade?
And I don't have that number, but we've got some pretty cool stories. Like Josh started with me the day he graduated high school, he started working here.
The day of. You didn't take a break?
No.
Unreal.
No. His dad wanted to be a football player, and his brother went to play football in college, and he just came to work here. And he went through his apprenticeship, got his license. He was going to buy a sports car. Mm-hmm. He had the money. He's going to buy a sports car. I'm like, don't do it. He's like, why? But I go, in 2 months, you're going to be driving my truck. Yeah. I'm going to give you a truck to buy. When are you going to drive your car? Well, that's a good point. Hardly ever, right? Because you drive the truck to and from work here. And so I got him not to buy a sports car and drive my truck instead. And so then he bought a house, and he's married, and now he's our service manager.
Oh, wow.
And he's only 27 years old. He's already got so much equity in his house, no debt. Service manager, manages 20 guys. He's doing awesome.
So as a leader, you're putting these guys on a good path. So I know I hear people putting their techs in like David Ramsey courses, things like that, or they're really investing their time to get them, debt-free, buy them a house. What's your dream?
Yeah.
let's achieve these goals together.
Yes.
So have you done anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't do it really well, but I was trying to be a dream manager.
Yeah.
Like I actually called myself a dream manager. There's a book about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did try to get people to set goals every year. I've done that for several years. At the end of the year, hey, here's a goal sheet, 3 professional, 3 personal, 96 months, 1 year. It was amazing, Chris, how few people would give me their goals.
They didn't have any.
They didn't have any. I'd ask for them 2 or 3 times. I never got around to force them to do it. But, or sometimes I get make more money.
It's not a goal.
Yeah, it's like, actually that's like, screw you. That's none of your business, right? That was more like a F you, right? Like none of your business type of thing. But it was just amazing how many people won't write goals down, even when you encourage them to over and over. But then during the company meetings, I'd read, hey, Miguel wrote his 90-day goals down. Here's what they are. And guess how many have come true? All of them. Wow. And it was really cool to see, right? And so I've highlighted that in some videos too. Like, goals make days special. The day that you make your goal come true. Today's a special day. It's just Thursday morning, but some guy just hit his $1 million, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So goals make certain days special. If you got to take the time to set the goals. But I did that, and it was really hard to. I was never able to get guys that routinely came in and were authentic with me on a routine basis.
Right.
They would kind of do it and not really pay attention. So that's interesting to me in the trades. It's hard to find people that are really authentic about setting their goals and going after them. Probably 30% of them are, but it'd be really cool if the whole company was.
It would really be.
But that's the other goal. There's how many apprentices or how many techs have you built in your company, and then how many millionaires have you created? Because really, if we're all on the same page, if in 10 or 15, maybe within 10 years, if you're actually on a good course, you could probably be worth $1 million, wouldn't you think?
As a technician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you bought it, if 2 years in, you partnered with another guy in your company and bought a rental property and worked on it and lived in it after you moved out of your parents' house, mm-hmm. and then 2 years later, buy another one and work on that one. When it's slow at work, go work on your rental. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I would think in 10 years, you should be worth $1 million.
In this market, for sure.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
But we don't really do that. We don't really encourage, and that's probably, I have had those ideas, but I didn't feel credible, or I didn't have the proof, or that, like, you should listen to me. I was working out of a shop that didn't look very cool. And
look at you now.
Yeah. But I wasn't able to get traction with that. And so that's one of I wish it could be different. If I could go back, I would be talking about financial stuff and saying, who wants to buy a house together? And that's kind of weird to have a boss saying, let's buy a house together, but why don't you guys buy a house together? Mm-hmm. I'll help you with a down payment, but you guys go buy a house. And if I don't have work, go work on your freaking house. Don't look at me going, what's your problem? Where's the calls? Like, say thank you and go work on your place, And if we could encourage young people to do that, it wouldn't take more than 10 years for these guys to be worth $1 million.
No more.
Right?
No one's putting them on the path. School districts not putting them on the path like that. Curriculum.
And people are scared, like, well, if I do that, they might leave. But if you do that, they might stay.
That's it. Yeah.
Right? And guess what? They're all going to leave anyway. And even though we've had this rocking culture, mm-hmm. people move and
I think the grass is greener, or just time for a change.
Yeah. When I was service manager, I never really lost anybody to another company in my area. Usually people moved away. Like, they left. Their wife got a job somewhere else and they moved.
Or they get really good at sales and they get out of the industry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, how many licensed techs and how many millionaires have we created?
Good questions.
Yeah. Why don't we take an hour on payday and fill out our budget? Like,
that's huge.
Why not buy breakfast for everybody on Friday morning, mm-hmm. and have everybody just write down what their bills are and what their budget is, and we can celebrate whoever paid off a bill or whoever put so much in the savings. And then we'll go to work. We'll be at work at 8:30 on Fridays. But everybody told their money where to go on payday. Wouldn't that be cool?
It's cool. And if you have a team and you're vulnerable and you have some accountability, you get it done.
Yeah.
Smash your goals.
Vulnerable is the thing. You got to be vulnerable.
You got to be vulnerable. It's scary.
Yeah. So I've had a little inklings of that, but I never got that through the whole company doing that. We've had the individual private conversations, but if I could do it over, payday Friday, come in an hour early, breakfast is here, get your budget out, let's see where we're at. How can I help?
That's a great tip.
Write it down. Mm-hmm. And those guys are going to stay with you, especially if you help them. And I don't know all the ins and outs and about if you could, put a down payment and help them get into a house or just help them do the things for themselves to do it. But if you're doing that, you guys aren't going to leave you.
They're not going to leave for $1 more across the road.
No, because you're taking good care of them, and then when not, they've got something to go do. Because I think the reason people go, like we've lost a couple of people recently. It's been a little slower this spring. And of course, when they call another company, of course they say they're slammed. I say that too, right? Yeah. And so it's like, well, they're slammed. It's like, well, no, they're not. They know that you're coming from Gene Johnson, and they're going to say whatever they can to get you there. You're a top dog if you're here.
You put them on a path.
Yeah. And so anybody coming from Gene Johnson is going to get sucked right up. And so, but if the only reason they went there is because they didn't have a house to go work on, is my point. If they had a rental property to go work on and it was a little bit slow, I'm glad it's slow. I got to finish that project. And then they could grab an apprentice and go work on their house and pay him cash and fix up their rental house. But because we don't do that, then when it's slow, they have nowhere to go except some other business.
What's the culture of your apprentices? What do they do after hours? What are their hobbies?
They're tight. We built this, we use Marco Polo. So Marco Polo is like a video chat app where you can shoot.
Like internally you're using that?
Yeah.
Is it like a Slack?
Yes, similar. But Marco Polo, I love it because you can video text. So in my truck, I'm on Marco Polo all the time because I can't text and write and drive. But I can hit play and say, hey, John, how'd that job go? I heard you're having trouble. I just want to make sure everything's good. Send. And then he can send it back. And then when I get in my car, I catch up on all my Marco Polos. I just hit play.
Okay.
I catch up on my Zoom Drain company. I catch up on my Gene Johnson Plumbing company. I get caught up on my personal friends that have sent me Marcos with my bike team. And so anyway, that really built a tight culture where then they started having their own channels. Like the heating crew or the rough-in guys they made their own little channels, but they all kept together and they're all friends.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
We need that.
Marco Polo.
Marco Polo.
I'll show it to you after. It's really cool.
I'm excited.
You have different channels and what I like about it is you don't have to type. If you're making a Marco and they pop on, you can see they popped on. And so they can see that they're watching live. And so then you can just talk to them and hit send.
Okay.
And then you can take a call and then you can get back to their answer later. So whenever you get to it. So I love it. Mm-hmm. What else? Recruiting. Are you on YouTube much?
I have a channel. When I get invested, I make some reels for Instagram, but I got to do some social. Like you, I want to advocate for the trades. I want to go on top of buildings and just scream out of how great the trades could be, how much money you can make, how much you could take care of your family.
Yeah.
And being service plumbers, especially where you live. You live on the ocean. We live on the ocean. The places it brings you, the cool houses, the cool place, the people that you meet. You meet some rock stars. You meet some some actors.
That's what our Marco Polos are. Sometimes they're like, guys, you're not going to believe where I'm working. And they show the view and like, oh, where are you at?
Yeah. Like Pamela Anderson lives in our town,
Yeah.
Like she's got a house right on the ocean there.
Yeah.
So if you places like that.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. We have the same thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. So Louis the Boiler Man, do you follow him?
I don't.
Louis the Boiler Man is in New Jersey. and he's making all these videos. He's just he goes whoopah at the end of his video, and he's just very authentic, and he's super energetic, and he's showing that the furnace filter is dirty, and he's showing why you need to clean this, and he's replacing a control panel today, and he's replacing a pump today, and this is why your pump went bad, and he's just showing himself working, and he's loud, and then he's showing himself working out, and then he's showing himself buying a new truck, and like saying, friends, you won't believe this, and he's teary. He's like, I can't believe I can afford this. Wow. Look at this. I just bought this with my hard work, and you can do it too. And so I called him a couple months ago, and I'm like, because he keeps putting local numbers. He's like, hey, call me for your furnace repair, call me for your boiler. But he's a national brand, right? And I'm like, Louis, are you getting local calls on your... He's like, absolutely. He's like, totally building my business off of YouTube. And I'm like, but I'm in Seattle watching your stuff. And he's like, he's just putting out all that content. And so when people go on YouTube and search how to fix my furnace or something, he's popping up. And then they go, oh, this guy's in my town.
My area code.
And they call him up. I just saw you on YouTube.
I want a job.
Yeah. Or I need a furnace repair. I was just looking on can I do it myself, or should I have you out?
Wow.
And so all he's doing is putting just raw, fun, rough. It's not glossy. Constantly, every day.
Unedited,
or he'll have, just the basic editing words on there. And he's totally building his business on YouTube. Just like that. You could do it too.
Let's do it.
The other thing you could do, you've only got 3 guys. Are you guys all on the same page?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean.
Yeah.
As in, they're not going to get me to where I want to be.
What I mean is, are you all... Could you guys all do something together? Oh, like, we're not that way. Like, our company, some guys are interested, some guys aren't.
No, like, they're all different. We got some guys that are into spiritual stuff, and the other guys are athletes, and wouldn't go drink beer together at the end of the day.
They would or would not? Okay. Same here. Yeah. Same here. If you could get a few guys to make videos and post them to your company thing, pay them a little spiff to do it. Mm-hmm. That's like when you're smaller, you can get that going where it becomes the culture to do that.
True.
Like, well, I only make whatever. What's minimum wage up there? Or do you guys have minimum wage?
We have minimum wage. I think it's 16 something. But we have to pay way more than that. They got to pay like $25 for first year.
One thing you could do is say, hey, the way to get above this is minimum wage, but I do pay $20 for a video. If you want to make a video of what you're doing during the day and submit it to me and I use it, I can pay you for it.
Right. I've even thought of hiring, get a green guy who's got some technical skills and who's got some, social skills or phone skills, and just film you, or they could create reels all day for you.
Yeah.
Teach them how to plumb, and they could just grow your business.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my tips for, everybody's complaining about the young people being on their phones, right?
Yeah.
Well, just have them record you. And we're done.
Then they're out. Yeah.
Then it's great. Like George the plumber. I'm like, George, how are you making all these videos? I have my apprentice do it. What a great idea. He wants to be on his phone anyway. Yeah. Have him take a video of you, and then say, hey, put that on there, and put these hashtags. That's it. Yeah. Now they're on their phones, and you're not restricting them, and they're part of the solution, right?
Now with AI, you don't even have to choose your own hashtags.
Yeah.
Just give me keywords, give me hashtags.
Actually, the guy I'm following says no hashtags at all.
No hashtags now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how, for a plumbing business, how relevant hashtags would be.
Yeah, I've used them for a lot, but the last 6 months I've not been doing it.
He's a marketing guy?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm just trying to get more, because I'm trying to reach more young people, right? Not even in the trades.
So you bottleneck yourself if you put too many keywords.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Cool. Well, Chris, thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate it. First podcast. I like it.
You did well.
I'm comfortable now.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking around to the end of the show. Did you agree? Did you disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Making the trades the place to be for young people is a team effort. So share this with someone and help us all out.